Okay, welcome to today's demo. Today we're going to be using data.interzoid.com, the AI interactive data client, to retrieve business demographic information from an email address, more specifically the domain portion of the email address. So one of the things that companies typically do is collect email addresses of their prospects or customers, and if you want to know more about them, you can use the domain portion, assuming it's a business email address, and use that domain to get more information about the company and learn a little bit more about that prospect or customer. So for example, you might have email addresses that come in from your website on a web form. You might have a list of email addresses that you want to lead score or be selective based on certain criteria. You might have historical CRM data full of email addresses, and you want to understand better what your customers do, what their best product is, how much revenue they have, those kinds of things. So it's very straightforward to do, not only interactively, but by custom defining an API you can integrate anywhere you want. We'll get to that in just a minute. Now, to try this interactive data client, you will need an API key. You can get that from registering at Interzoid.com. And since behind the scenes we're using an API, this API key, which is a string of characters that I've got hidden now, is something that we use to track your usage, extend trial credits, and so forth. So you can get trial credits if you register for that. But let's get to it here. So the first thing I need to do is I need to describe using natural language the type of data that I'm looking for, and that'll trigger some various AI processes various AI processes and knowledge bases, so we can get the data that we want. This tool will get any data on any subject, and so we can at least need to be a little bit specific about the data that we want. So I am just going to enter what we want is company information from an email address domain. That'll be a little bit more specific. And then the next thing we need to do is describe the output data fields we want. Since our response will be in structured data form, we need to describe the data that in our specific case, based on our use case, that we want to get from an email address domain. And so, for example, we probably want to know what the company name is. We can add another field. Let's get the company address, so we know where the company is located. And this might help with assigning leads, for example, or just better understanding more about the customer. Let's get a company description, so we can learn more about what this company does or organization. Let's also, let's get their flagship product, so we can understand better the company's product offerings and speak intelligently about it. Should we speak to anybody from the company? Might be a good idea for various reasons to know the company revenue. Is it a big company? Is it a small company? Do we assign certain sales reps based on company size? And let's, these are just some examples of the data you get. In this case, let's find out who the CEO of the company is. That might be useful. That just demonstrates that you can get different, you could be getting a chief marketing officer, a chief product officer, a CTO, any specific title that you might be looking for. These are just some examples of the type of data that you can get. I would recommend experimenting with different types of data that are important to you. And that's pretty much it. The next thing we need to do is provide a email address. We'll just use something simple like john.doe at ibm.com. This is an example of a lookup value that we're going to get this data and return these fields. And then one other thing here, we need to choose the model we're going to use. The premium ones incorporate web search as well as some of the AI and knowledge bases. And so while they do use more credits, they do bring back more comprehensive and detailed information. So I'm going to use the premium one in this case to demonstrate. And that's it. Next thing I need to do is just give it a run, where it's going to go out to the web in the AI models. Okay, and we can see the company name, the address. They're in Armonk, New York, and just kind of a textual description: revenue, CEO, flagship product. And if I want to see it in a little bit more structured way, I can click on the pretty view. And so, for example, I can read the description, which is several lines long. Now, the important thing here to point out is just as nice to do it interactively, but wouldn't it be nice if we had this in API form, that every time a lead came in, or we could run one at a time against our entire customer database and get this kind of information that we're looking for. Right here is the actual API call that gets made. So the endpoint is get custom api.interzoid.com. The license key is your API key that you get from Interzoid. This topic parameter is the same that we described up top: company information from an email address domain. Of course, that can be anything. The lookup value in this case is the lookup value we provided interactively, john.doe at ibm.com. This is the value here that would change, of course, frequently if you integrate this into a business process or a web form. And the model that we chose, Model A Premium, and then the output parameters are simply an array of various parameters that we want to retrieve in structured data form. And of course, when you call this API, it's going to come back as JSON. And that's how you could integrate it, by using this API. Another thing you could do is, say you've got a file of email addresses. If you go here under the resources menu, in addition to getting an API key in a step-by-step guide, we also have this available in batch mode. So using, for example, a CSV file as input, these data columns can be appended to every single record in that data file pretty quickly. And so another option is, once you have these data parameters the way that you want, then you can run this in batch mode. And of course, some demos like this one, product page, and so forth. Just to kind of give you an idea of some of the resources available here as you experiment in getting the data that you're looking for, your customized structured data response. Let's try one more. We can leave John Doe in there, and we can try Salesforce.com. Of course, these can be any company, large and small, U.S., international, global. You can get this data from just about any email address that you have. Of course, if the email address is hotmail.com or a disposable email address, it won't be helpful. But if it is actually a business email address with a business domain, then you can get a lot of information about that company. So let's just try John Doe at Salesforce.com. I'll click Run again, and it will go out to the web, make the API call again. And you can see the similar information here: the address, description, revenue, and so forth. And so I would encourage you to try several different domain names and just get a sense again for what data that you're looking for. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, contact us at support@interzoid.com. And for more information or to try it out, you can go to www.interzoid.com. And of course, this specific tool is at data.interzoid.com. Thank you, and hope you can give it a try.